That's a title, isn't it? So, let's go. The way in which additional FPS are supposed to work can easily be explained by looking at a Scuf controller. This controller has those pedals back here which allow you to do things like jumping, proning and other stuff while aiming and moving, which is just hardly possible without the controller. What this controller does is to help you to become more efficient and more consistent by perfecting your already acquired skills, which is not impossible without it, but just a lot harder. What the controller does not do is to give you any advantages over someone with a normal controller, just by buying it alone. An inexperienced player will not be able to match a pro just because he has the controller and the pro doesn't. You still need to learn how to play the game, you need to learn how to aim, you need to learn how to move. Same in CSGO with high refresh rate monitors. The higher refresh rate will smooth shit out a lot, but it won't make you capable of doing anything that isn't possible on 60 Hz. You won't be good at aiming or anything else just because of the monitor. Let's look at COPS. How does it look like there? Well, sorry to tell you, but in COPS we sadly don't have this. But what we have is myself explaining it to you and showing you the maths to prove it. First advantage it gives you is better reaction time. This is the same as in CS, you might say, and I would agree. But what this slightly better reaction time can give you in COPS is basically pay to win. Due to the low tick rate and way too high movement speed, the dude you peek with 120 FPS will not see you for even close as long as you can see him. The delay can be calculated with your ping, plus his ping, plus 1/30th of a second from the tick rate, plus 1/60th of a second from FPS. With these numbers, the FPS one looks like it makes no difference at all, but this delay itself is not the issue. The issue is that while moving, your screen is a lot smoother on 120 FPS, therefore you can easily spot the enemy while still moving. Back then, this has not been an issue, because you needed to stop moving and wait for a little bit in order to have good accuracy again. This delay can still be seen if you look at your dynamic crosshair. Sadly, this delay does not exist anymore and you will just simply be accurate upon taking your finger off the movement pad immediately, no matter what gun we are talking about. Together with the Pics advantage, this makes it look like this on 120 FPS, while it looks like this on 60. So, you can see that this is mildly infuriating, right? But if you thought this was game breaking, the next thing will give you a heart attack. So, here we go. You know Aimpunch, right? Well, in CSGO, for example, Aimpunch will only go upwards. So, if you know that someone shoots at you, you could theoretically just pull down and you're fine. So, the way it works in COPS is that you can basically get Aimpunch into any direction. Let's be nice and say that there are 8 directions. There is a shot coming out of your AK every 5.25 frames on 60 FPS, which transitions to 0.08 seconds, which is just a third of human reaction time for visual inputs. Also, please note that this means that is the time that it takes for you to register that you got hit, not the time that you need to aim back onto the guy. On 120 FPS, we are still speaking of a time frame of 0.08 seconds, obviously. But in that time frame, we see 10.5 frames, which transitions to 0.16 seconds on 60 FPS. This 0.16 seconds will not make it incredibly easy to react to it, but it's at least in the realm of being humanly possible. Also, there is no 100% success rate required for it to be an unfair advantage, because the person on 60 FPS has a way lower success rate, but we will get to that in a second. If you think that 0.08 seconds is humanly possible and easy, okay then. Press on your screen once so you see the pause button and simply pause on the 0.08 seconds of white in the video. Did you get it? So how does the success rate for 60 FPS look then? Let's be nice and split the screen into 8 directions. We could potentially get Aimpunch too. If we would want to be more accurate, we could actually split it into 16 or 32, but the chances are already low enough on 8, so there's no need to go even higher and make it even harder to imagine. This means as soon as we get aim punched, we need to aim back. We won't even take into account that the aim punch doesn't always punch you away equally as far, and also let's ignore that the aim punch can have multiple motions at once for some fucking reason, so the odds are even less, but hey, let's go. We get hit once with an AK and we get aim punch to the bottom right. This has a chance of 12.5%, same for every other direction. We can't aim against the aim punch in real time, so we need to predict the way it will punch us. So if we predict the right one, we will be back on target for another shot of ours. If we are wrong, we are even further away. Just imagining we predicted right 5 times in a row and get a kill from body shots, right? The chance for that is 100% divided by 8 and squared by 5. That's 0.003%. Would you look at that? I could get 83 tier 7 knives from a standard case from that. That's quite low with a chance to win a normal gunfight, which is a 5th of winning a round, which is a 13th of winning a ranked game, is it? So if I peek a dude and he doesn't look at me and I hit him 4 times, that should almost be a guaranteed kill for me, right? Well, turns out in COps there is no need for that, since the guy can flick over, not give a fuck about the aim punch I just gave him because he has more FPS, then shoot back and hit me once. So instead of still having me dominate the gunfight, I now have just received a 12% chance of still winning the gunfight that I have been dominating until like half a second ago, while my enemy is already down to 20 HP. So the gunfight I had almost safely won now favors the enemy because he got more FPS. And so my 4 hit markers are worth a 12% chance of winning, while his 1 body hit with less input lag, better reaction time and a bigger screen now puts his odds at 88%. Seems fair, right? Well, moving on. There is so much more stuff I could be complaining about right now. There is the scope animation on 120, which is a lot smoother and gives you a lot more vision while scoping in, which makes quick scoping a lot easier, obviously. This basically gives 120 FPS players a brand new gun, which is close to useless on 60 FPS. But who cares about shit like that, right? Everyone who says that Critical Force should do something about the advantages of 120 FPS should simply be handled like a conspiracy theorist that after all just is some noob who doesn't have the money to buy an iPad Pro.